Good afternoon, my dear and lovely friends. Welcome once again to the kitchen of the Cannon Shack. And I am the Reverend Canon Samuel P. Lundy. Today we're going to talk about Anglican tarts. And I have to add a bit of a disclaimer. When I say Anglican tarts, I am not talking about my former sister-in-law. I am talking about pastries. The Anglican tart recipe that we're going to be using today is a hand-me-down from my great-uncle, Charles Nichol. Mr. Nichol was the pastry chef at one of the renowned hotels in Toronto during those busy years of the 1930s and the 1940s of the last century. It was a day, an era where people dressed nicely, went to the theater, had high tea at the hotel late in the afternoon because their dinner might be delayed until after the theatrical production. The recipe has been kept a family secret for many years because recipes were much like any other skill that a person developed. They were the intellectual property of the developer. If everyone had the recipe, well then the value of the individual to an establishment diminished. So we were quite old when my mother finally decided to share the recipe with us. So today we're going to do Anglican tarts. And when I say Anglican tarts, people sometimes look at me and say, "What in the world is an Anglican?" And my stock answer is usually, an Anglican is a Roman Catholic who failed his Latin exam and in desperation ran off and got married. The other possibility is that an Anglican is a Methodist with class. Either answer sometimes gets me in trouble, but I'll share them with you in good humor. So we're going to start today with the shells. This is kind of a two-part recipe. We're going to do the pastry first, and then we're going to do the filling. Now, with all of my recipes, I think it's important for them to be simple. If there is an easier way, let's do it, because I want you to use the recipes often. Therefore, instead of making pastry, I have some very inexpensive pastry that is normally used for pie crusts. Now, in my case, I bought a very generic available because I suspect one does as nicely as the other. We're going to take some flour and spread it on the countertop here, which in effect is our pastry board. Now, I have had these pastries out of the refrigerator for about 35 or 40 minutes, so they unroll nicely, but have not lost their structural integrity.